What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another one of my videos. Thank you all so much for tuning in as always. Make sure to subscribe and like my video if you're enjoying this content. Man, your boy's been putting in work, man. So, like, subscribe, support, and let's jump right into today's video. Alright guys, so starting right off, we have the two sneakers. We have the Feeling Pieces sneakers here in the Common Projects. And before I get into it, Feeling Pieces is still like a high-end brand. I would classify it as a high-end brand. It is a bit but compared to the Common Projects are a little bit more expensive. And in terms of name brands, the Common Projects is definitely looked at as like a much higher-end brand, right? Especially a couple years back. If we look at a couple years back and how much people were wearing them and how much people were spending on the Common Projects, it is definitely more of a higher end brand. Now, jumping right into it. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to kind of compare the Feeling Pieces and the Common Projects as Feeling Pieces being an alternative is because the price. So, as you guys know, Common Projects will run you around like 500, give or take 500, 550 Canadian dollars, which is kind of equivalent to maybe 300 euros. And the Feeling Pieces came out to like 200 euros flat. Now, the Feeling Pieces pair, honestly, hands down, this was a pair that was sent to me and hands down the most comfortable pair of sneakers that I have owned. Now, in terms of the design, I really love the design. I felt that right away I could kind of pair it with a lot of my sneakers. It sort of had this really sharp silhouette, not as slim as the Common Project, but just like goes really well with any sort of like cropped pair of trousers. I love the white colorway. I love the little suede on the side, the little Feeling Pieces that's written on the right and left pair of the shoe. Now, in terms of comfort, the most comfortable pair of shoes I've owned to this day. I went with my true to size. I'm a size US 10. I went with a US 10 and it fits perfectly fine. And I also felt like the quality is really there. And for the price that you're getting at, I thought that was quite fair. So this brings me to the Common Project. The Common Projects, I got them 3 years ago, give or take. I think it was back in 2017. Yeah. So I got the pair of Common Projects about 3 years ago. And right off the bat, I can say, guys, this was not a comfortable shoe to begin with. Now, I don't know if it's because the whole shoe is made out of leather, and leather is very hard to break into. Like, you have to kind of break the shoe in, you have to wear it a couple of times. And honestly, I won't lie, for the first couple of weeks that I wore this pair, it was extremely sore. Like, I'll get blisters at the back of my shoe. So that was already, for the price that I had to spend to get this shoe, I feel like you want the pair of shoe to be comfortable right off the bat, right? So that was number one. In terms of durability, I feel like they've done a pretty good job of holding. Like, they are still a shoe that I can see myself wearing. Even though I don't wear it as much, I can definitely still kind of wear it if I'm going out for a walk or if I'm just going to see a friend. And now they're a lot more comfortable. I think the leather is pretty good from at least from the 3 years that I've had them, because I've kind of I wore them a lot the first 2 years. The only thing that I would say is that in terms of the two prices, if I compare the two prices, I would much rather go with an alternative like a Feeling Pieces pair of sneakers, just because for the price point, it's great. You're getting a good price point, and at the same time, it's comfortable right away. You can start wearing them right away. You don't have to worry about them being uncomfortable, you breaking them in, going a size up, going a size down, which I kind of feel was a big issue with Common Projects. If you go on Reddit, you'll see that some people were sizing up, some people were sizing down, and all of that, to spend that much money and then have to deal with all of that, I don't think it's worth it. So at least maybe back then it was, but for me, I'll say if you can definitely save a couple bucks, definitely go with an alternative such as Feeling Pieces. Alright guys, so for the second items, we have the MSGM derbies and my Feeling Pieces derbies as well. So to jump right into it, the MSGM derbies I've had for quite some time. I've had them for about 3 years now, or even, yeah, 3 years, 2017 as well. And quite honestly, they've held pretty well. Now, I got this at about 500 Canadian dollars, you know, and to be quite frank, for the price, obviously still a little bit expensive in terms of like the fact that it's a higher end brand. And the filling pieces I think came to about 300 euros, right? So quite frankly, both shoes are around the same price. Now, the MSGM that I've had for 3 years have honestly held strong. They have a patent leather, a great sort of like brown colorway. They're pretty comfortable, they're lightweight, and all around pretty good pair of shoes. I managed to pair them with quite a lot of my trousers as well. Recently wore them in one of my pictures on Instagram, and I feel like they do a good job at sort of like, because of the color, they kind of elevate a look. And in terms of quality, they've held really strong. I mean, I usually just wear these either to work or if I'm going out for dinners, so you know, they don't get like a crazy amount of wear. So I've managed to keep them like in pretty good condition. The quality is really good. I think in terms of durability, they've also done really well. Now, in terms of the price point, I feel like if it was any other brand, like a Balenciaga pair of derbies that we're gonna get into in a little bit, they would have been a lot more like expensive. So the fact that they're only at a 500 Canadian dollars, I feel like it's a fair price for the brand. Moving on to the filling pieces. Now, the filling pieces is a pair that was sent to me again, and right off the bat, I kind of felt like the leather, like it was plastic. Didn't like that. They were quite narrow and stiff. I feel like I should have sized up. So that was some of the issues that I faced. So I feel like if someone was about to spend like 200, 300 euros, they kind of need to be aware of those things, like how do the shoe fit, what's the material like, you know. And I felt like the filling pieces, even though it could be a good alternative for the price that you're spending, I would say that I would have rather stuck with the MSGM and paid a little bit more, because first of all, the color is nice. I kind of like the bit of chunkiness on them, and also from what I've had them for quite a while, they've held pretty well, right? So coming back to the filling pieces, in terms of the shoe itself, in terms of the quality, it seems pretty good. I also like the design of the shoe with the little buckle. I feel like that's a great touch. The little silver around it and on the back looks really nice. And yeah, so would I go for the filling pieces of the MSGM? I think in this case, I would have probably stuck with the MSGM. I feel like in terms of like comfort, it's a lot better. I feel like the fact that I didn't need to like size up or down, I just went through the size. I feel like that's super important. The shoe fit smooth right away. They were comfortable. I feel like the only time that I don't mind if a shoe is uncomfortable for a bit is when I really love it. Like let's say like my Balenciaga Derby, for example, I love the shoe, and it has, for the first like few wears, it wasn't the most comfortable, right? So yeah, so for this for these two, honestly, I would say that like, would I go for the alternatives? Probably not. I'll probably just spend a little bit more, like $100, $150 more, and just go for the pair that I really want. And yeah, so let's move right into the third and final comparison. So moving right into the last item, we have the Human T sneakers and derbies compared to the Balenciaga derby. Now, starting off with the Human T brand, they contacted me. They wanted to send me a couple items. I said no problem. So I had never seen the website, so I went on the website and saw that, like, of course there was a lot of like sort of similarities with Margiela, with higher end brands, which, to be quite frank, like a lot of brands copy each other today, right? So I am not the one that's gonna sit there and say that, like, you know, this brand did it first, that brand did it first. I feel like, generally speaking, where fashion is at today, a lot of the things are copied from like one designer to another. So these sort of up and coming brands, if they end up doing that, they're just learning from the bigger brands. So jumping right into Human T, in terms of quality, the sneaker seems fine. It goes really well with a lot of my sort of trousers, a lot of my shorts as well. I feel like I really like the fact that it has like a high platform. I think that kind of elevates the sneaker. That I love the comfort is there, but I find that the sizing is a bit off. I went through the size, but they fit quite big, and even with an insole, I was kind of like, okay, these I could have gone like a full size down. So that's always like a bit of a headache, especially if you're kind of ordering from like Korea. If something's coming all the way from Korea to North America, you know for a fact you're not gonna ship it back. You know, you're just gonna try to figure out a way to wear it or resell it. So in terms of like comfort, they're all right. I feel like for a sneaker, the comfort could be much better, but because of the lower price point, I'm like, it's fine, right? But again, I didn't pay for them. So for someone that's kind of like, let's say, based here in North America, paying for 175 USD dollars for a pair of sneakers, and they end up being too big, or the comfort isn't really there, I don't know if it's worth it. I'd rather just pay a little bit more, another brand of sneakers, and I know right away they'll fit fine, and I won't have to worry about duties, about comfort, and so forth and so on. So this brings me to the derby. Now, the derby, first and foremost, I really love the fact that they included this sort of like mauve colorway onto the all black derby. I feel like if it had been just an all black derby, it wouldn't have been as sort of like eye-catching. I feel like that little color really makes the shoe catchy, and I kind of like that, right? In terms of comfort, definitely not the most comfortable derbies. I feel like my MSGM fit a lot better. They're way more comfortable, but again, because of the low price point, I feel like it's all right. They fit quite big, so I have to most of the time put an insole when I wear them, but they go really well with a lot of my items in my wardrobe. So a lot of my trousers, a lot of my shorts, I can pair them with shorts. I really like the platform as well. The design of the shoe is really good. Now, compared to the Balenciaga Derby, now this is definitely a shoe that I have talked about quite a bit, and you guys have seen me wear it quite often on Instagram. And to be honest, obviously in terms of the price, it's extremely high price point compared to like the Human T. But if I had to make a decision between going for this alternative and going for this sort of high-end pair of derbies, I would definitely always, if I have the money to be able to spend on the Balenciaga Derby, I would go with the Derby. Now, I'll explain why. The design, first and foremost, is amazing. Like, I love the design of the Balenciaga Derbies. I feel like they just stand out so much with any sort of like outfit that I put them on with. Like, a lot of the times, I've actually had to ease up when I'm kind of taking like fit pics or when I'm going out and kind of switch and wear some of my other derbies or my other boots. But in general, like the Balenciaga, there hasn't been a pair of like, there hasn't been an outfit that I have paired them with and it hasn't worked. They just have such a good way of standing out. The chunkiness is amazing. The sort of like the big platforms and kind of how it like bends a little bit forward at the front. All around, I feel like it's such a great shoe, and obviously because of the name of the brand, it's priced pretty high up. Would I say that the alternative will be better? No. I feel like, in my personal opinion, I would rather save up and actually buy the shoe that I really want than settle for something that I'm like, you know, in 2 months, 3 months, I might not be as into it as I will be with this particular pair of shoe that I would have invested in. Everything is sort of relative. If you would rather go with an alternative because you don't have, let's say, the financial means, or you just kind of feel like spending, you know, $500, $600 on a pair of shoe isn't necessary, then I totally get it. You should definitely do that. But for me, I always say that, like, you know, always, in my personal opinion, I'm always careful into what alternative I invest in, right? So if it's a piece that I'm like, you know what, I feel like this will be really good in my wardrobe, I feel like this is something that I can consistently wear, that can go really well with a lot of my clothes, and that I can sort of end up reselling at a much later date, I would rather invest and buy that specific pair of shoe that I really want, wear it, and eventually, if I don't want to wear it as much anymore, I know it will still hold a bit of value and I can still resell it. And there you have it, guys. Should you invest in alternatives? You guys let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe and like my video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.